Strap in and be prepared.
Maybe I learned from your failures.
That is what you could do.
Yeah.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, George Ricer, Ryan Lee, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I think Dan Lanning sitting in his office going, you know what, fine, give us the toughest road to win the national championship. That's what it should be.
Oregon State in their baseball program is still operating from a position of strength, even if they're independent. But here they are in the College World Series.
And some smiles.
It's iconic.
We're not keeping score, but maybe we're keeping score.
The fastest 60 minutes in sports is on the air. It's Danny Havel.
When I wake up every morning, I say to myself, what can I do to make Baby J's life better today?
Justin Grossweiner.
Have I ever told you, Danny, that growing up I really loved ducks?
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome. Hi, it's out the Delta Tri-on the Crystal Palace of the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport. This is the fastest 60 minutes in sports talk. It is your little Danny and Justin radio program. You can follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky. I forgot to do the Blue Sky today, but Blue Sky, we're there when I remember, at Danny and Justin. You can also follow us on wherever you pod, like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, the Podcast Index, Listen Notes. Of course, we're on the RSS.com community. You can also go to Castro, Fountain, Overcast, Podverse, True Fans, Podcast Guru. Are you getting the idea? We are everywhere. Also, YouTube. We got some exciting news to talk about with the YouTube channel when we're out there at Laurelwood on Thursdays. But that'll be later on in the program. I am Danny Havel. Right over there is my tag team partner, Justin Grossman. We call him Baby J. What up, boy?
Well, no media day today, so I wasn't in quite as much of a rush.
You were not.
Sounds like you were today, though.
I wasn't in a rush. It was just I have a another life outside of the radio thing, and it was a very busy day. In fact, last night I'm laying in bed and I'm looking at my phone one last time before I put it down, and all of a sudden a meeting pops up. So, you know, your phone is your connection to the world. And with my business, it's my connection to people can put things on my calendar, which I woke up this morning and I said, I got to stop that. I've got to start blocking things out on my calendar so people don't put things on there. And I had a meeting. And so I start actually freaking out a little bit because the meeting that I needed to have was a very important meeting for the business, and I didn't think I could move it. And so I immediately text Goose, and I say, Goose, can you step in for me tomorrow if I can't make it? And he, of course, being as gracious as he is, he said, sure, I can do it. Let me check my calendar in the morning, but I think I'm good. And then all the way up until about, when did I text you or something? At 9:30 this morning, 10 o'clock, is when I could finally clear my schedule.
I was in and out, so I was. You know, I specific. Here's.
You want to
hear my end
of consciousness?
Correct. Yeah, you want to hear my end? So you texted me this last night, and I was up late, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to.
I knew you were going to answer right away. I didn't know Steve would. I knew you were up.
Oh yeah. No, and so last night I decided that I was going to set an alarm. A couple alarms early because I wanted to know that, say, Steve couldn't do anything, that I had to prepare for the show myself, so that I'd take a little extra time to do that. So
I actually had a plan for that, by the way.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
I had to be prepared just in case.
Yes, you were.
That
yes,
happened.
You did.
So I basically decided I was going to set an alarm to wake up and check my text messages to see what the deal was, and so I had like 2 or 3 alarms. So I think you hit like the third one or second one. So
okay, so I was in between that.
Sleep for a little bit longer.
Well, I was trying to stretch it out as long as I could, because I love doing this, but that other stuff kind of pays the bills,
Of course.
So I gotta take care of that as well. So we're here, and that's all of our personal lives. And I still haven't gotten my hair cut.
This is going to be like a running gag.
Well, it's not going to be a gag because I need it. In fact, I'll probably tell you. I know my wife's listening.
You can start growing it out, and that's what you can say at the end of the show. And I still haven't gotten my hair cut.
No. I could do that thing. The only time
like Fabio by the time football season
I would
starts.
not look like Fabio. I'd look like a really rundown old version of Fabio with not the good looks. I think I'll tell my wife right now over the air so I don't have to text her because I know she's listening. I'm going to try and get down to the hair salon right after the show and see if I can get it clipped that quick, because it's driving me crazy. There's this little thing on the right side of my hair, if you can see it, that I have to keep doing this to.
You got a little cowlick.
it just hangs over. The cowlick will flip up or whatever. This is just kind of like hanging down because it's too long. Makes me look stupid.
Cowlicky.
So there you go. First world problems, right? Yeah. All right, so on the program today, we're going to hear more from Media Day yesterday for University of Oregon football team. We'll have a couple of more comments from Dan Lanning, and then really good, we've got Dante Moore, Bear Alexander, and Bryce Boettcher. We'll hear from them and a little bit of an insight, get back behind the curtain a bit as the team really starts to grind now down to the countdown of August 30th against Montana State, and it will be a 1 o'clock kickoff at Autzen Stadium. First 2 weekends at home, and then they're on the road in conference play. No, actually, first 2 weekends at home, then they go on the road for conference play, and then they come back for the Civil War game on September the 20th. You're looking that up.
I have to look it up.
I have it right. They're playing Northwestern early, so they play a conference game, and then they come back and play Oregon State, and then they have the game on the road at State College against Penn State. So they'll be back and forth across the country a couple of times before you get out of September. So they're going to get all ready for that, and we're going to see how it goes. And what's going to be interesting, and I think if you haven't been around Autzen Stadium over the spring or the summer or even into the winter, is it is torn the heck up. They are putting in the new practice facilities. And so keep in mind...
Slightly better than it was, I have to say. When I went over to Media Day, it was slightly better.
It's getting better, but they're on a rush right now, and a race to get it even...
I think it's going to be pretty nice, actually.
I'm hoping it will be. Obviously, it's still going to be torn up a bit with the construction that's going to be on the field, but in terms of the traffic flow...
Hope. Now that I think I can see it now. You know,
and you're normally not the hopeful one of us two.
Before, when it was just so much construction, it just was like a mess, and you couldn't even see the plan, but I can sort of see what they're going for now.
So on Leo Harris Parkway, which runs behind Autzen Stadium, that's normally where the buses will go to get people out to the different car lots to bus people in and out of Autzen Stadium, trying to ease the flow of traffic. Well, that is, you couldn't even get in there for the last 4 months or so because it was all blocked off, and that has probably been their biggest concern, is to get that right before game day starts. Now, there's still going to be reduced parking and then reduced opportunities for tailgating, unfortunately, in some areas. There's been some adjustments and some movements there, and that'll last until this will be the last year of that. And then, we're off to the races. But just keep that in mind, especially at first weekend, probably not going to have a ton of pressure on it. Might not be a sellout. I think Oklahoma State's going to sell out. I think there's going to be a bunch of people from Stillwater and Oklahoma State fans traveling out to Autzen Stadium because it's going to be the, let's go see the water. Let's go see the ocean, because they haven't seen it because they're in the middle of the country where it's dusty, because they are in Oklahoma. That is correct. So we'll just keep that in mind as we move along. But we'll hear from Dan Lanning and a couple of the players about Media Day. And then tomorrow it's Oregon State's Media Day. You and I are going to plan on being there, so we'll get a lot of audio from Coach Trent Bray and a few players that we can get access to tomorrow. So tune in for that on the program. And then Thursday, of course, we're out at Laurelwood. And then Friday we'll have the Godfather or Jacob Archer, somebody from the Eugene Emeralds, here in studio for us. It's also USA Championship track week this week. USA Championships at Hayward Field. And we know the General is going to be very busy doing that. And by the way, the General, Jeff Oliver, our dear friend, he was back home the last week or so, I think week or 10 days, got a hole-in-one.
Really?
Yes. He sent the video out. He posted it.
Oh, he had a video?
Yeah. I'll show you the video after the show.
Very nice.
Yeah. And 132-yard par 3, I believe. I think he said he hit... I don't know if he hit a wedge or what he hit. I don't know if I can't remember what the
feels like a story that he should be telling.
Yeah, so I told him he was actually listening to our program as he was flying back yesterday.
30,000 feet.
At 30,000 feet, yeah.
That's how high they fly, right?
35,000 feet normally is the cruising altitude for a lot of those.
Is there like a small range there, or is there a pretty big range? What do you think?
Well, it all depends on the size of the plane and how far you're going. I mean, the planes that go like from Eugene to Seattle and such, they don't get up much over, I think, 24,000 feet is their cruising altitude. But when you're going further, you go higher, apparently. I'm not a pilot. I don't know. You're asking me? I'm not a Copernicus here.
I just think about these things.
I know you're always curious about these things. That's what the interweb's for. Right. You can look that stuff up.
You're my in-person internet.
Yeah, really. I'm an encyclopedia of knowledge, of useless knowledge. So there's all that. And congratulations to the General. I'm still looking for my first. And that's kind of, I'm happy that a good friend of ours gets an ace, and especially it was in a tournament. It was a scramble tournament, so I'm sure that cost him a little bit of money. But I really want to get one. That's one thing I want to get before I give up the game for good is I want to get that hole-in-one. I've been close. The closest I've ever been is 8 inches away from the cup, and that was excruciating. That was just
it's so
far
close
away.
it doesn't even feel good at that point.
Well,
what's like the range? Like how far do you get away before you feel good, but then you get close enough where you feel bad about it?
Okay, great question. I don't know the answer to that, but this kind of relates to the story of would you rather lose by a little bit or just get blown out?
I would rather get blown out.
See?
Yeah.
And so so the 8 inches is like losing by a little bit.
I would rather barely not lose. Yeah.
So
that's more excruciating.
I agree with you on that. So let's see what other news and notes we have. Some preseason watch lists again are coming out for Oregon football. The Outland Trophy preseason watch list. Iapani Laloulu, along with Emmanuel Pregnon, Isaiah World are on that list. I did get that out, and I didn't screw it up. Bryce Boettcher, Dylan Thieneman, and Mateo Uyangalele are all on the preseason watch list for the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. So Young Concrete's on there. And we got to find a good nickname for Bryce Boettcher. We really do. No, we do.
Do you think so? Because I feel like he's been here for 5 years and he hasn't had a nickname. So does he need a nickname in his?
Well, so you know what I'm thinking about, and it might not be a necessarily flattering nickname, but it would probably.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying. So I mean, think about it. When he was carrying the baseball bat and stuff like that, I mean, Negan would be a great nickname for him. See,
it's a bit
I don't
dark.
Think it is a bit dark.
What
but
about?
he's
yeah, I mean, okay.
You get what I'm saying, though.
I don't hate it.
I mean, I think he's a defensive player, wants to knock heads. Crush, yeah. I mean, we're going to say crush skulls.
I can say crush skulls.
I know you can. You just did.
There's no FCC violation there. That's all I care about.
The Danny and Justin radio program. I don't know where we went off to. Live from the Bigfoot Beverages. Yes, we are on the on the Danny and Justin show here for a Tuesday, live from the Bigfoot Beverages studio. The Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. If you want to chime in, go ahead and do that. You can also chime us in on Twitter. If you follow us on Twitter, and by the way, last part of the program, we're going to talk about a new thing we're going to have out at Laurelwood on the YouTube channel. I gave you a sneak peek of it the other day, and it will give an opportunity for the fans to engage us without having to call in. And we'll be able to do that starting this Thursday at Laurelwood. So we're looking forward to that. You want to do some news and notes, bud? All right, let's do it. You want me to start? Or do you want to start? Well, so whoever starts doesn't get to finish. So you want to go last? You want to go first?
I want you to go last.
Okay, so you go first.
Okay, so this is a fun one. I actually think this is good news. It's good to have some good news.
Okay.
Cameron Brink is going to make her season debut today against the Aces. So she was the number 2 pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. She, of course, played for Stanford in her college career and got, I believe it was an ACL and MCL.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, she's a really exciting player. She is a fun defender. She has a lot of potential. I think she's great for the WNBA, so I'm glad she's back.
Venus Williams come back. She's headed to the U.S. Open next month. She'll enter the redesigned mixed doubles tournament with Riley Opelka via a wild card entry. Williams is 45 years old. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
She returned to the tennis tour last week after more than a year away. They were among 14 teams with her doubles partner, announced Tuesday by the USTA for the mixed doubles event, which starts August 19th and 20th. 8 of the pairings received direct entry into the field based on having the highest combined current singles ranking. 6 were given the wild cards by the USTA. So one of the Williams sisters
I
back
think it's cool.
in action.
I think that athletes should be allowed to do whatever they want in terms of continuing or stopping to continue.
Well,
to
this
play
was the thing because
sport.
she hadn't been playing. She didn't have the points, so they got the at-large.
But think about guys like Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, that at like 30 years old decided, I'm done. This is it for me.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I still have the physical ability, but I just don't care anymore. But then you have athletes that will literally play until they physically cannot do it anymore.
Tom Brady.
Well, he's a horrible example, unfortunately for me. But no, I think it's great that she's back out there.
We're like an old married couple. I know how to trigger you.
That's very true. We didn't even mention the Jed Hoyer extension.
No, I didn't. Go.
In our Eugenio Suarez watch.
Yes.
So he was hit by another pitch. He was
Another
hit before
one?
the All-Star break.
And then
the
I
last
sent you the
game.
one last night.
Yeah, the one last night. So it was a 95-mile-per-hour fastball
Right on the
Monday's
hand.
game. Yeah, it was from reliever Will Vest. And so he left the game
because he keeps on getting hit in the hand.
I think actually it was the All-Star game he got hit in the hand.
He
with a pitch.
did.
Yeah. So, not some. It's so you can see the negative story happening. So good for him for not getting injured, but there's a little bit of a scary moment there, and he will get traded. I'm sure he'll get traded.
Well, Baby J, nobody swims the 1,500-meter freestyle better. I'm going to start that again. Nobody swims the 1,500-meter freestyle better than Katie Ledecky. And the American turned in yet another dominant performance today, winning the event at the World Aquatic Championship with a best time of 15:24.44. That was 5 seconds better than the second-place finisher. Ledecky trailed Sonona Pallister earlier in the event, but got stronger as the race went on. Ledecky eventually surged into the lead, paving her way for a victory. By the way, she owns 14 total Olympic medals. Her first gold coming back in 2012.
Can you believe? Do you know what age she is?
Let's see. Does I have it here?
I have it right here.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
She's 28. That's insane.
So she was like, what, 2?
No, she
when
was like
won
15, I think,
when she first
when
won?
she was in the 2012 Olympics.
Quick math.
Well, I have it right in front of me, so it wasn't that quick. So this is interesting. So sneakers from Kobe Bryant's first career start sell for $240,000.
Brian, I saw this. Yeah.
Do you know what brand these sneakers are? I'll give you a hint. They're not Nike.
Are they Reeboks?
They are Adidas AEQT top 10 shoes that he wore because he was signed to Adidas at the time. So that's a fun fact that he was originally with Adidas and then he went over to Nike and, of course, has his famous shoes now. So these are Adidas shoes.
So do you know in Europe they don't call it Adidas?
Adidas, right?
It's Adidas.
Yeah.
And
it's German, right?
It is German, and it's the American
Americanism.
way of saying Adidas or Adidas here in the States. There you go. Another
We
fun
call
fact
it
for you.
Adidas.
Yes, we will here. That's just like Jan Hansson. So a touching story in college football as a running back for Colorado. And did you see this story with Mr. Offerdahl?
I did not.
So Colorado running back who decided to retire from football because of his health issues. He only played 3 years with the Colorado Buffaloes. And he came in front, and this was coming after Deion Sanders said he had his bladder cancer and had his bladder removed and all of that. And so Offerdahl comes in and says that he's got to step away from football. And here's what Deion Sanders did. He said, "We are going to honor your scholarship."
That's cool.
So he gets to stay in school. He's planning on enrolling in dental school, plans to take that up as a career. He called it a really tough decision because Offerdahl's been playing football since the 3rd grade.
Well, that's how it should be, right?
Yeah,
Shouldn't you have your scholarship honored if you sustain an injury from the sport that you are playing? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Charlie Offerdahl is retiring from football, hanging up his cleats. He had repeated concussions. So there you go. So good on Deion. And again, we wish him the best of health as he enters in the fray in Big 12 action.
We didn't need unnamed sources for that story.
No. All on video. We saw it. We saw it live if you subscribe to any of those social media channels. So yesterday, again, you were at Media Days for a bit up there at Autzen Stadium, and Dan Lanning took the podium, and we had a little bit from Dan yesterday, but we're going to continue with a couple of comments from Coach Lanning, and then we'll take a break and come back with Dante Moore, Barry Alexander, and Bryce Boettcher. But Coach Lanning, one thing that we did discuss at length a couple of times and then on the roll-up to this was how many different players are going to be in different spots. I mean, when you take a look at it, there has not been a whole ton of continuity between the 2024 team and the 2025 team, especially in some key areas. And so Coach Lanning talks about that roster turnover and the effect coming into this season.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact numbers, but, comparative to roster turnover, like our first year, I think it was over 50 players. I think our second year is over 40. So there's turnover, but in a different way. Like we sent a lot of guys onto the NFL and a lot of opportunities. That doesn't mean the guys behind them aren't going to be those same, quality players. Every year we've had more get the opportunity to go play at the league. So I think you're going to see some faces that are certainly capable of that. but it starts at what they do at Oregon. So that's part of what we got to figure out, right? There's some turnover, there's some new learning. Maybe you peel back a little bit less on the install, but you're also afforded so much time in the summer and the spring to really get a jump on what you want to be able to accomplish and what you want to be able to learn. So our guys, we have a big volume. We have a lot of stuff on offense, a lot of stuff on defense, special teams that we're going to be able to incorporate this year, and it's about what they can handle and getting them ready for those moments.
And, of course, with more roster turnover, that means that there's more unknowns. And, of course, coming into the season, does that mean that this is a season unlike another season that Dan Lanning has had? And in that case, do your goals change?
Well, I think everything in football is about learning different ways to say the same thing over and over again, right, to make sure that it's interesting and exciting for your team. Ultimately, winning football is winning football. That's been really consistent. What's the new run scheme in the league that we haven't seen? That's what's different, right? So you have to be great at stopping the run and great at running the ball. Right, we know that. So that's the goal that stays the same, right? We want to be able to be a team that can rush consistently for over 5 yards per carry. We want to be a team on defense that can hold people under 3.3 yards per rush, right? So that stays the same. What's going to change is how do you do it. So I think the goals, they're consistently the same. There's some of those goals that we've hit in the past and some that we hadn't, but that tells you quickly, okay, this is an area that we want to attack. This is something we got to do better this season. So ultimately, a lot of it's the same. The process of getting there might be a little bit different, but the process in itself is also the same.
So Coach Lanning touched on a couple of things there. I know you want to pull one of them out, but one thing that I'm thinking about is starting out a little faster. I know it's about how you finish as well, but I think there's an anticipation and an urgency with this team looking at Montana State and focusing on Montana State and saying, you know what, we need to establish something a little different at the beginning of this season. Because there are so many unknowns, because there's been that roster turnover, because you're coming off a 13-1 season that ended in massive disappointment at the Rose Bowl, that there's going to be this gauntlet wanting to be thrown down by this team to establish we are not going anywhere and we're going to put a thumping on anybody, especially when they come to Autzen Stadium.
And that's a great point. And I think thinking about how we came into last year and what we thought about with that team is we said, hey, this Wyoming game, let's see if we can see the second stringers and the third stringers in there for the second half. And we actually did not see that. But I think this season that it would actually be even more beneficial to be able to have a game that it isn't so close and that you could get good looks at everybody and that you could try some things out. And I think that would be even more beneficial this season. But getting back to the point you wanted me to make that I was going to make is about that running game. And so on both sides of the ball, got to stop the run. Something that they were pretty good at last year, not spectacular, I think I would say, especially against the bigger teams.
I think pocket contain. I think pocket contain was the biggest issue. If you had a quarterback that could get out and run, even Will Howard did it to Oregon
100%.
over and over again.
That game against Ohio State. But then on the other side, and I think we talked so much about, hey, Evan Stewart's gone, and what's this passing game going to do? But the Ducks want to run the ball. I mean, they got Mekhi Hughes in there. And they have, of course, Noah Whittington, who's been around for a few seasons now. So this running game would be really good. I think they're going to focus on that. And I think that along with a really good offensive line, by the way, too, which I don't think actually is being talked about that much, that, to be honest with you, the offensive line might be the unit that I'm most confident in, that I think most strongly is going to be a really good unit. And I think if you have a really good offensive line unit, that's going to open everything up for everybody else.
So I think also what's interesting is when you take a look at the balance and the arc of the season and where it starts out, you have to start setting those precedents. And I think with Will Stein's offense now, I think it mirrors a little bit more. Chip Kelly had the blur, but people thought that it was just like this pass-happy offense.
Yeah.
It was not. It was run-heavy that set up opportunities for the passing game. That is what Chip Kelly always wanted to do. And he actually showed that in Ohio State's game.
Yeah,
a couple of times last year.
Yeah,
worked once, but
it
he did
Oregon.
figure it out. Finally, unfortunately,
by the way,
he figured it out.
I think that the Ducks should be. I'm not saying counting down, but I think Will Stein isn't going to be here for another 10 years or something like that. So you basically have to take advantage of every single season. And he's your offensive coordinator because I think he is one of the best in the entire nation.
So I'm going to be very interested to see now that he's got his legs underneath him here in Eugene and with the right personnel. And not to say they didn't have wrong personnel, but with the personnel that they've got now and the chess pieces he can move around, it might be a really fun offense to watch. So you want to shave strokes without heat stroke? Tee off at the back nine. They're down there at the Sheldon Plaza right by Safeway. You can play courses like St. Andrews, Pebble Beach, Torrey Pines without even leaving the comfort of Eugene. Inside, it's a cool 71 to 73 degrees. Yes, it's nice and air-conditioned. Stay out of the heat and play at the back nine on the Sheldon Plaza, Coburg Road in Eugene, 24/7 access to some of the best courses in the world. When we come back, Dante Moore, Bear Alexander, Bryce Boettcher. We'll hear from all of them from Media Days on the Danny and Justin radio program. So a little bit later on in the program, we'll talk about some of our memories of Ryne Sandberg, the great Cub. We call him King Cub, as he passed away yesterday, lost his battle with cancer, way too young. And a Northwestern kid. And for all the things I knew about Ryne Sandberg, I don't know why it didn't stick in my head. I know I probably knew it at one time. He was born and raised in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, would have gone to Washington State if he didn't commit to baseball.
So
good choice.
Yeah. And his cancer went into remission over last spring. And then, last year. And then, unfortunately, came back aggressively, and he lost that battle yesterday. So we'll talk about our memory, because we're both kids. So you're going to have to give us a little grace. We're both Cub fans, but I think Ryne Sandberg kind of transcended.
Yeah, he permeates the rest of the...
Him and Dale Murphy, and it was because of WGN and TBS, where all you could see if you wanted to watch Major League Baseball for the most part was the Braves or the Cubs throughout the country.
Superstations. We miss those.
Back in the 80s, and that was where that's where you got most of your consumption.
In my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, they switched from WGN, what was that, 2014?
I don't remember the year.
It was not too long ago. We're talking about a little more than 10 years ago when they made this change. I think it's the worst thing the Cubs have ever done. But I digress.
We're not going down that rabbit hole like you're trying to pull that up. All right, the Danny and Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios in Eugene and Newport. Thanks for tuning in out there on the coast at 92.7 FM. We're glad to have you along for our little sideshow that we do here, our fastest 60 minutes in sports, and our Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. And we missed a call. Sorry, Brad. We were going to break when you were calling in, but,
I have to apologize,
Woody
Brad.
picked it up. Okay, so Baby J has something to say to you, Brad, one of our P1s.
It was not Wyoming. You're correct. It was Idaho. I should have known. The yellow and the brown, it really got me going there.
But we have the Oregon, I didn't play them. Oregon has played Wyoming in the recent history. So
they did.
So that's where it probably was stuck in your head.
Didn't they play Josh Allen, actually?
I think they did.
Yeah.
Now, see, Brad's going to call right back up and correct us if we're wrong.
So
that's where it's dangerous.
But I don't know actually who they played last year, of course.
All right, more from Media Day. Let's run through these pretty quick. Dante Moore has emerged as the favorite to win the starting job after redshirting. He 5 games at Oregon in his first season back. Of course, the transfer from UCLA. He completed 7 of 8 passes for 49 yards. He utilized his red shirt. He only played 29 snaps last year. And as a freshman at UCLA, he appeared in 9 games, became the 9th UCLA true freshman to start a game at quarterback. And, of course, he was a number 2 overall recruit out of high school from ESPN, and he talks about his off-season training that he's done with his own trainer.
Yeah, so more with Dame is more just technique things, like quarterback. When I'm down there, it's usually like me and Dak Prescott and Cowboys receivers and me out there just training with them and other college quarterbacks as well. But Damian's just been, of course, a great person to me that, when I go to Dallas, I have a place to train. He makes sure that I focus on the little things. A lot of times we do a lot of weight room stuff here, like full body, but as a quarterback, a lot of hip, a lot of torso, a lot of, rotational things. So he's been just helping make sure I stay, disciplined and make sure I keep my routine going. So he's been helping me just, critique my body, and it's been amazing. And I feel like I'm great right now.
Some big name drops there. Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott.
It's a pretty good name to train with. But speaking of training as well, I think a guy that I don't know if you remember this last year, one of the actual plays they did was, I believe it was a double pass with him. They tried to throw it out to him and didn't work, but I think that they could do some fun things with him. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And another thing that I think he adds to the team is his ability to use his speed, and that's something else that he worked on, was increasing his speed.
Yeah, I had a great off summer. I really got my body right. I actually hit my goal I wanted to hit this summer, so Coach Love and Coach Bolt, they've been making sure that I got my speed up and I hit my goal. So I'm really excited. I'm really, see what I can do with my feet. I'm happy about that. My goal was to hit 21 miles per hour. I hit 21.5. So I was super excited about that. It made me happy. Almost cried, but it was good.
So it's almost gazelle-like. And so
21.5 is good.
That is fast.
That's
People
fast.
don't understand how fast that is. Put that on a speedometer and figure that out. 21.5 miles per
You
hour.
can get a speeding ticket for 21.5.
in certain areas, you certainly can. Danny and Justin here for a Tuesday. So we're hearing what Dante Moore said yesterday at Media Days for the Oregon Ducks. And so there's been quite a history in the last few years of Oregon quarterbacks, from Justin Herbert to Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, and now it's going to be either Dante Moore or Austin Novosad that we think is going to take the reins of this team. But the question was asked of Dante about the preparation and what he learned from Dylan Gabriel as his understudy last year.
Dylan showed me a lot about preparing for a game, and just the way, of course, he used to stress out a lot, just the way he used to be on his iPad and watching film. And I know when I was there watching with him, I understand how it feels. Kind of brought me back to my UCLA days, my freshman year, being out there on the field. It takes a lot. But I feel like I enjoy it when you prepare so much and you watch this defense, and then when you go into the game, it's like, hey, this safety is rotated here, so I know what coverage is going to be. So I feel like the best thing is to understand what you're knowing going into the game. And I feel like preparation, you can enjoy it. Of course, it gets stressful because there's so many different looks, and of course, the Big Ten is a lot of great competitive teams. But I feel like even Dylan, like Penn State game, throws a dig route to T. Ferg to seal the game, to get the first down, and the joy he had. I'm like, how'd you know? And he was like, it was covered too. And I'm like, damn, like preparation, the smile on his face, and make sure we keep moving the chains is amazing.
So Dante Moore, I think, understood when he came back to Oregon that he was not going to be the starter. And I think and this is a great maturity growth spurt for him, is understanding that, because guys want to play, right? They want to be in that spotlight. They want to grab the ball. But he understood learning and sitting back and watching was going to serve him better. And that you can just hear it in his voice when he talked about what Dylan talked to him about on the sidelines, and something he didn't see.
Right.
So I think that's going to serve him and Austin Novosad very well.
Well, the mental preparation is just as important as the physical preparation that he's been doing. And I think that it's one of those things where it seems like he's trying to do things the right way. He doesn't try to rush things. Dane Lanning had that great quote from Big Ten Media Day where he said, it was something along the lines of, he wants a slow-cooked meal, not the I don't remember how it was, but it was something about a microwave versus a slow-cooked meal. And I think that's what he's doing. He knows that, hey, he could have gone somewhere else last year where he would have played right away, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to go back to Oregon, where obviously he had a good relationship with the coaches,
right,
and then sit behind a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who statistically is one of the greatest college football players as a quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
And so it's putting him in a good position.
So we'll finish up with Dante Moore's comments, and of course, who's he going to throw it to? Well, one of the
Moore-to-Moore connection.
Yeah, we could have this, which would be that's a great alliteration there. DeCorian Moore's increased comfortability.
Yeah, he's grown being more vocal, especially to me with certain looks and certain things he gets. Like I remember when he first got here, I was doing most of the talking, of course, because like I say, he's young and he's learning things now. But we were in Texas together, and we were just out there just throwing at the high school and just getting closer and closer. And on the flight, we got an install of like our upcoming plays, and we're flying from Salt Lake to here, and we're sitting next to each other on the plane. So I'm like, all right, it's just time to quiz him. Let's see what she knows. And I'm on Snapchat drawing on a little box of like the plays and trying to make sure we're both on the same page of things. But overall, just him understanding the plays now. Spring ball, you're out there playing football. You're just going through these plays, you know what's going on. But he has a full grasp of it now. So he's kind of asking me questions, making sure that I know my things now. But he's a great learner, and he's very competitive.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how that connection goes. So there's always, it seems like there is a connection with a quarterback and somebody out on the receiver core, whether it's the tight end, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a slot receiver. We've seen it with quarterbacks year after year after year.
Well, and another place we see it, too, is if you ever see a backup quarterback come in, sometimes they have really good connections with the receivers that aren't the number ones because they've been working with those guys. And so
there's a trust factor there.
100%. And I think that's a really good sign that we're hearing about DeCorian as a student of the game, right? And because, of course, his physical ability, but that's not going to take you all the way. You've got to be a person that is able to be mentally in it all the way as well. So, hearing about it, it's obviously early on, but hearing about these first steps of kind of just trying to be in on the coverages and knowing what you're supposed to do, I think it's a good sign.
Danny and Justin here on a Tuesday from the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport for Fox Sports. And let's move to another large human. It's Bear Alexander. And Alexander off-traveled. Now, he came from Georgia, USC. He moved around a bit. He played in just 3 games for USC last season as a junior, just totaled 5 tackles, went on a red shirt. And he's now here at Oregon, and there has been a bit of a cloud over Bear about the perceptions of, bouncing around and not staying settled in one spot, and he addressed those.
I mean, obviously, things didn't go as planned. You just kind of control what you can control. At the end of the day, it's still love over there with those guys. Like, I still talk to Will. I still talk to pretty much everybody over there, so... It's just kind of one of those things. You control what you can control.
And Oregon has a very recent history of bringing in a player from a good program that hasn't quite figured out how to get it done yet. And
we talked about this.
Exactly. And so comparison to, of course, Derek Harmon, who came in last year, and now, was he a first-round pick, I believe?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, first-round pick. So he talks about his comparison himself to Derek Harmon.
Very similar. My games are similar. Like I say, just the work we put in with this amazing strength style and the sports performance side of things, just not cutting any corners, just putting in the work.
So that's Bear Alexander on how to compare with Derek Harmon, who obviously went off like a rocket ship and got himself into that first round of the NFL draft. In fact, getting drafted before Josh Connolly Jr.,
right,
which everybody was shocked at.
I knew he went to the Steelers. I just was trying to remember.
Yeah, it blew us all away,
right,
which we figured he might be late first round, but when he got picked by the Steelers, it was just... And they're getting a great human being in Derek Harmon. But Bear Alexander, of course, again, we just said, Georgia, USC, a couple of different high school programs. So the question comes. Go ahead.
And I just want to say, all we've heard about him so far from Dan Lanning, of course, the other members of the staff, is how hard he's worked and how
right,
well he's adapted. So I think that it's interesting to hear from him about how he feels about Oregon and the staff so far.
That joy and that peace factor, being able to drive an hour to the beach, go to the sand dunes, go see Crater Lake a couple hours up the road. So really just honing in on that. And, Coach Lanning, a defensive-minded coach, so knowing that he's going to get the best out of his guys, and that coaching style is similar to Kirby, it just reminded me of being a freshman at Georgia all over again.
Which he won a championship, by the way.
Yeah, yes, he did. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he fills that gap. And Bear Alexander there in the middle is going to be a huge cog for Oregon's defense. Let's stay on the defensive side of the football. And a player that I think everyone wanted to come back and thought should come back. And then he just made sure that everybody was the happiest person at Christmas time. This year again. And he is cut back. Bryce Boettcher, the inside linebacker, South Eugene High School kid. He was drafted by the Astros in 2024 in baseball. He got another season of eligibility for this season. And so now is this the, what do you want to say? Is this the victory parade? Is this the celebratory
it's
tour?
Weird, right? A little bit, because you go through a whole year of thinking that you're not going to
play
back
anymore.
You kind of do the whole nostalgia thing, and you
victory
take it
lap
all in, and then you're back for one more season. So Bryce, how does it feel?
Yeah, I kind of did it, last year, because I thought last year was gonna be my last season. So having done that last year, to be honest with you, this season's kind of been just strictly business. I'm coming back for one reason and one reason only. But I'm not saying I'm not enjoying it and doing that. But once the season rolls around and towards the back half, I'll definitely take more time. But right now, pretty locked in on fall camp.
Of course, Bryce has been around for a long time now, so I do think it's interesting, and also he's a very articulate guy, so I think he's an interesting one to actually listen to about the team chemistry, because, of course, they're all going to come in and, they're not that, they wouldn't be honest if there was things going on, but I think that, of course, there's going to be a lot of team speak about chemistry, but I think that Bryce actually does have an interesting quote here about talking about these guys and this team in particular, because I do think they actually do have some solid chemistry together.
Yeah, honestly, I think the team chemistry is as good as it's ever been. Obviously, we've got a lot of new faces and a lot of young guys. But based off everything I've seen, man, guys are connected. We've done a lot of team bonding activities. I'm excited. There's a lot of good energy too, a lot of young energy, guys that are excited to play football.
And Bryce Boettcher, of course, this is the swan song. He knows there's not going to be any more eligibility and stuff. And so for him and for this entire team, they've got to double down.
I'd love doubling down. It just means more money. More opportunity for more money, and who doesn't like more money? So it's a great quote.
I don't think I'd want to sit across a table from Bryce in a poker game.
Well, he seems like he's a type A, right?
He would stare you down. Like I said, we got to figure out. I'm going to push the nickname thing. I think it's a great nickname. We got to ask him what he would think of it.
All right.
It might be a little bit too dark for him, I'm thinking. But I think Negan's probably pretty good.
He has to have seen The Walking Dead, so that's a big key
you don't
there.
think he hasn't seen The Walking Dead?
It's a hit or miss.
All right. Well, when we come back, our final segment, of course, we got dad joke to end the show, but we're going to talk about our memories of Ryne Sandberg and some of the other greats that have passed, but we're going to focus on King Cub, Ryne Sandberg. Rhino passed away yesterday. He played 16 seasons, mostly with the Chicago Cubs, played a couple of games for the Phillies. We'll talk about our memories of the great Ryne Sandberg when we return here on the Danny and Justin radio program for a Tuesday. So we're going to have a brand new vehicle platform studio for our YouTube channel on Thursday when we're out at Laurelwood. We're going to have a nice little ticker running on the bottom. We're going to be able to incorporate some ads from some of our sponsors. Where you're going to be able to ask us questions on Twitter or YouTube. So if you follow us on Twitter, we're going to broadcast on Twitter as well. So if you want to follow us, Danny and Justin, you can ask us questions there during the show. We'll pop your name up if you want on the show. You'll appear right there on the old YouTube. Be out there at Laurelwood every Thursday through the rest of the summer. So we got one more big month left until Labor Day. The Danny and Justin radio show goes on the road. Weekend Eve in the Wood. That'll be on Thursday right here on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport. So there's our exciting news on the YouTube channel. So just kind of, moving the needle, moving things forward. Ryne Sandberg became a Chicago Cub on January 27th, 1982. Do you know who he was traded for and with?
Larry Boa.
Right.
I believe.
And also a part of that trade, Ivan DeJesus went to Philadelphia.
He was pretty good, right?
He was. So they traded shortstops to the Cubs. So what position did Ryne Sandberg play? He played second base. Right. So Cubs manager was Dallas Green at the time. Dallas Green, of course, more famous for his time with who? The Phillies. So there was a connection there. That is really how Ryne Sandberg possibly became a Cub, because he was the extra player. He was that other player.
Right, he was like the player to be named later, basically.
He was a 20th round selection by the Phillies. He was not
he was not this hyped guy, no.
Absolutely not. So the thing I remember most about Ryne Sandberg was obviously the game against the Cardinals, where he hit a couple of home runs. And
the Sandberg game.
The Sandberg game. That's what they call it now. And by the way, no one will ever wear number 23 again for a Chicago Cub. That number has been retired.
Yeah, only 6 players have their numbers retired for the Cubs, and he's one of them. So I think the Cubs have been around for over 100 years. So I think it really goes to show the place that he had in the hearts of Cub fans.
So the year that I remember the most, though, and it was one of the playoff years, I believe it was a playoff year, was when Ryne Sandberg
back when that actually mattered.
Not back then, but he was great in the playoffs the 2 times that he made it to the postseason with the Cubs. 40 home runs in a season, 1990. And he was only the second NL second baseman to win the home run title. And that was the other one was Rogers Hornsby in 1925. Davey Johnson hit 40 home runs in 1973. They're the only 3 players to ever do it. Now, maybe it's happened since. It has, I think. But it's a rarity for a second baseman to have that kind of power. And he was also like a 9-time Golden Glove winner.
Yeah.
Like 9 in a row.
Yeah, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger winner. I believe he retired with the most home runs for a second baseman at the time that he retired. It's since been surpassed. And then I think I saw this yesterday. He won the home run derby with like 3 home runs, I think. It was at Wrigley Field, and it was something about like he knew how to hit home runs at Wrigley Field when the wind was blowing in, basically. So, no, just a great player. All-around player. He had speed. He hit like 19 triples in a couple seasons, so he could do it all, right? I mean, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, just great dude. I mean, everybody loved the guy.
So the nice thing about what the Cubs did for him was honor him before he passed away. So what happens in a lot of instances is that the honors come after someone unfortunately passes, so they don't get to enjoy it.
Like Ron Santo.
So the Cubs, if you've ever been to Wrigley Field, and if you haven't, it's one of those places you should go. Like, I need to go to Fenway Park. I've never been to Fenway Park. I want to go to Fenway Park. They have statues outside and ringing Wrigley Field, and they have Ernie Banks out there, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, Ferguson Jenkins, of course, Harry Carey, and they unveiled this in 2024, I think it was, a statue of Ryne Sandberg outside of Wrigley Field. And you were just there.
I was just there. I did not see it. It was a night game, and we just were getting in the park.
Yeah.
But I have to go check it out next time.
And it was on the 40th anniversary of the Sandberg game that they unveiled.
Very cool.
So,
Very cool.
You know, for all the things you bash Jed Hoyer for,
That's not
and
Jed
the
Hoyer.
Ricketts family, they did some things right. And, of course, he was elected to the Hall of Fame. And it took 3 times, which just is perplexing to me. But he made it in 2005. So he got all those honors, and unfortunately he passed away yesterday. So can you think of what, you know, and this is near and dear to our heart because it's the team that we root for and have grown up with, but can you think of other like famous athletes when they pass away? The one that just shocks me still, and I was very young when it happened, was Thurman Munson in a plane crash. This was before your time.
So are we talking about, this is what I was thinking about, are these athletes that died during their careers, after their careers, but it was young? Like, what's our basis here?
Wherever. Ones that would,
Okay.
if I just say, think about an athlete that passed away and what comes to your head.
The first one that will always come to my head is Kobe, because I very vividly remember everything about the way that went down. And not only that, I watched him play his whole career. I mean, this was like kind of like someone I watched from my childhood. So he passes away 5 years basically after his playing career, and that's the shock, is that you see basically his entire life, which has been in a microscope in the public eye, and then he doesn't get an opportunity to
enjoy his retirement.
Exactly. And so that's what stuck with me.
Yeah, and it's ones that I think that tragedy is one thing that kind of strikes me. And this, of course, you know, a tragedy unto itself in terms of an illness and a just insidious illness that cancer is. And, you know, it's interesting that we had 2 cancer stories, one where there is a survivor in Coach Prime who revealed that he had bladder cancer and had his bladder removed and such, and then another one where it was Ryne Sandberg who had been battling it for years and succumbed to it. Unfortunately, I just had a very dear friend of our family pass away recently from this disease, and they had originally given him 6 months to live, and he lasted 16 years.
Wow.
Which was amazing, and he was an amazing man, Dave. Was an amazing man, was a great mentor to my wife, one of her favorite bosses. In fact, I can just say, was her favorite boss ever. And it was more than just a boss-worker relationship. So, yeah.
Of course, many people will think of Steve Prefontaine.
Course. Oh, yeah, that one hits home here, especially.
Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, I was going to bring that one up.
And then for me, a big one was Sean Taylor. Taylor, that was, I think it was
home break-in.
2005 or 6 or something like
Florida.
that. Yeah. So I remember waking up and listening to sports radio on that one. Oh, yeah, 22 years old or something like that, 22, 23 years old.
Yeah. So it's a sad day if you're a Cubs fan, if you're a fan of sport, when someone, and a nice guy, this is a guy that never made any kind of headlines for, you know, saying the wrong thing, being in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. Ryne Sandberg was as good as they get. And so Godspeed. Heaven got a great second baseman.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
I don't know. I'm stuck between 2. All right, there we go.
Gotta hurry.
All right. Where do hamburgers go dancing?
Oh, I don't know. I like a good hamburger, though.
A meatball.
Well, that's something different, though.
Yeah, it's a meatball. That's pretty good. All right, tomorrow on the program, it's a Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of stuff from Oregon State's Media Days. We'll hear from Trent Bray and a couple of players. Our regular foolishness and frivolity here on the program. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Wherever and however. Oops. God bless you for listening. Thanks for hanging with us. Put a smile on your face. Someone else's. They deserve it. So do you. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Peace.